B. Welcome back to my channel, and today from the title you can see we are talking about forgiveness. It's not an easy topic, and I thought it would be a very important conversation to have or discussion to have, initiating it through this video. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, hope you enjoy the discussions, and I hope it's thought-provoking and does encourage you guys to pray first of all, to look within, and to start conversations with whoever you need to forgive or you need to be forgiven, or just start that avenue or share it with someone who might need it. So like, subscribe and share. So let's get into it. I have my notes here, so I'll be looking from this side. So forgiveness. First things first, what is forgiveness? And the definitions that I found were: forgiveness means to pardon or to waiver any negative feeling or desire for punishment. So that is, they've done something to you, and instead of your natural instinct, which is to get revenge, catch them outside, hunt them down, cause them frustration, cause them like all of that, instead of doing that, instead of punishing them, you have pardoned them. You've let it go. It's no longer something that you're thinking about, you're worrying about, or you're planning to do. It's been forgiven. You've forgotten about it and you're moving on. You're not planning to frustrate their lives. You're not building an army to go and attack them. That's all in the past now. And there's no desire, for them to repay you in any way. So that's the forgiveness is, you don't need anything from them, and you're not planning to do anything to them either. It's fine, clean slate, that's cool, whatever. That's the forgiveness that I'm kind of talking about and leading towards. So as we've actually defined what it is, next thing is, why should we forgive? Why is it important to forgive? And the first reason that I came up with was that it can drain you. It's something that really does weigh you down. I remember there was a quote that I heard, I think it was Nelson Mandela. He had his picture on it. I'm not sure if it was him, but someone had said, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of, when you don't forgive someone, or you hold a grudge against someone, it's like, drinking poison and expecting them to be, hurt by that. And it's something that doesn't work, because you yourself, you're the one who is inflicting that pain on you. That's how unforgiveness is. You're the one that's putting that on you. And granted, it's very easier said than done. I know I've been in positions, and maybe you guys would have been too, in situations where it's not even that you want to feel like this, because it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling at all. It really does drain you. It does weigh on you. But because whatever has happened is so terrible, is that your it's like your physiological being is still being affected by it. Whether it's that person's name, it just triggers it straight away. It's not that you're even trying to, still think about it. It's just still innate, it's still fresh, it's still raw. So not to say that it's something easy that you can just click your fingers, oh, I've forgiven, that's it. That's not the case at all. But I just want to clarify, this is one of the things that you can overcome if you forgive, is that there's no longer that weight on you as you're holding on to that grudge, and you've decided you're not going to forgive them, and you're going to hold that grudge forever. I'll read Matthew 6 verse 9, where Jesus teaches the disciples how to pray. And this is the Lord's Prayer that we all know, maybe some of us don't know, and it literally gives us a great template of the key prayers. One of them is forgiveness, so I'll just read it from verse 9. So it says, Jesus says, "And this is how you should pray: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors." That's verse 12. Forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. So in this verse, it's clear to see that Jesus actually expects that we should forgive. We should forgive just like we expect others to forgive us. And saying it in that way definitely brings us to reality that, we realize we're human, and we have definitely in the past or even now have offended someone or have done something wrong to someone, and someone has had to forgive us. So he's trying to remind you that in the same way you have required forgiveness, know that you should also forgive. Now, granted, maybe whatever you did to the other person wasn't as bad as what they've done to you, so that's why you're holding on to it. That's not what the Bible said. That's not what the verse said. It says, as you want to be forgiven, you should also forgive. And again, the way this verse is even phrased is to bring us to reality and let us know that, we're actually humans. Let's say your argument is that, like I said before, what you did to them wasn't as bad as what they're doing to you. But know that you are human. The heart of man is desperately wicked. If you've not done something this terrible before, there will be something else that will be so terrible to that person that you will do in the future. And you require forgiveness. So this verse is reminding us that we are humans, we are all flawed, and let's not think that we are higher than anyone else. We are higher that we are so righteous, and that when someone has wronged us, it's unforgivable. How can they be human and do something wrong? That should not be the case. God is saying we should humble ourselves. That's a very humbling verse right there. Another reason to forgive is because it saves us from the hurt of seeing them and having that pain, or it's almost like reopening that wound again or pressing that wound again, or when you think about it you still get angry, you still get aggravated. We've established the reason that we should forgive is to heal ourselves and actually be able to move on with our lives, because it can hinder our growth spiritually, mentally, physically as well. It can also even prevent us. It could cause depression. It could cause so many things. It could cause trust issues and all these things. It's so important that if you actually want to move on with your life, and if you are tired, if you're at your wit's end, and you really just want to find a way to just forgive that person and move on. So thankful that there's actually a God who is able to meet us at our need, that where we are weak, then he's made strong. So the next point is how to forgive. First point, we have to be honest. You can't lie to yourself or to others and say, oh no, I'm okay, I'm fine, I don't care anymore, but you still care. You still care. So first things first is to be honest with yourself and with God. Take it to prayer, for sure. Take it to prayer and be honest with him. Tell him clearly, because he's your father. He already, be honest with him and tell him that, no, I'm still upset. I'm upset because they did this and this and this and this and that, and it made me feel like this, and it's affected this part of my life, and now I can't do this, or it's hindered this relationship. Be very open and honest. He wants us to come to him as honest as possible. There's no need to hide. He's our God, is our Father. He already knows. There's no need to hide that, because you cannot get true healing and true deliverance if you're still hiding certain things. So the first things first is to be honest with God and ask him for help. I'll just read Isaiah 59 verse 1 to 2. It says, surely the arm of the Lord is not too short to save, nor his ear too dull to hear, but your iniquities have separated you from your God. Your sins have hidden his face from you, so he will not hear. And I'll read James 1 verse 5. Verse 5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. So with these two verses, as you are praying, as you're being honest with God, and as you're telling him, first part, I'm still upset, God, I'm still hurt about what that person did, what they said, how the situation happened, how it started, how it ended, how it's going now. Be honest with him. And say that you want to actually overcome it. You don't want this to separate you from God, as we have read in Isaiah 59 verse 10, that our iniquities can actually pull us away from God. It's not that God is far in that situation. You know, whenever you're feeling that feeling of unforgiveness, you feel like you're indignant. Like, how can God let this happen? This shouldn't have happened. It's not fair to you. Where's God? Why am I not getting justice? And the reason you're feeling like that is that feeling of unforgiveness is actually pulling you away from God. It is our iniquities that pulls away, because God is the constant one. He's the one that's always there. It's us that's actually walking away or being pulled away by our iniquities, by our sin, by our faults. So in your prayer, tell God that, you know, you don't want this to draw you away from him. And ask him for wisdom, as James 1 verse 5 says, that use the Bible verses as you're praying. No, you said, as your word says in James 1:5, that if we desire wisdom, we should ask. For you are a generous God, that you will give it to us. So ask him that, you know, I'm struggling myself. I don't know how to do it. I've tried it my way. It hasn't worked, clearly, because I'm still here and I'm still praying about it and I'm still here. So God, please help me. Help your child, help your daughter, help your son, because I don't want to feel like this anymore. That's the first step. Second step is to be wise. To be wise about, you know, how you actually go about this forgiveness. There's some people that you should forgive and keep them in your life. You know, they're people who, after you forgive them, you can still have great relationships. The relationship can still grow, still help each other out. You're both healing and growing together, and you know, there's no issue going forward. However, there's some people that is you have to say, I forgive you, all is good, but there's the door. Kindly show yourself out. Respectfully exit the premises. Because it's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for them. For you, definitely. You know, you cannot keep this person in your life. If you see them, yes, you've prayed, you've forgiven, but still, it will be way better for you, for your mental health, for your physical health, for your spiritual health, for you to actually separate yourself from them. And I think this is even something that's a key step in the Christian walk, that at a certain point you will notice that you are separating yourself from certain friends. And I think also in just any personal development journey that you're on, you actually realize at some point that the certain friends you won't be able to, you know, relate to anymore. You won't be able to actually get on with anymore, just because your outlook on life has changed, whereas theirs has not, or theirs has changed and yours has not on certain things, on various things, and therefore you cannot walk together. You know, the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So if you believe this and I believe this, or you know, your new outlook on life is this and mine is this, we're going to clash a lot. So that's a natural thing that's going to happen. So with certain people, you can forgive, but you can actually have the wisdom and maturity to say, you know what, it's forgiven. I wish you all the best, but I don't think it will be helpful for us to still continue to have each other in our lives. But I wish you all the best. Goodbye. And that's it. And I don't think it's wrong, it's ungodly, it's unhelpful at all. That's actually wisdom. That's definitely wisdom to do that. And there's this really great book called Forgiveness Made Easy by Bishop Dag Heward-Mills, and he goes through really some key steps to take to make forgiveness a lot easier. So the first one is analyze the offender. So he says here that sometimes when we actually assess whoever has offended us, sometimes it could be that the person didn't even actually know. And he actually quotes it in the book. He quoted Luke 23 verse 34, which says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So in the book, he's explaining how, you know, when you actually assess and think, does this person actually understand what he's doing? Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they might be confused. Sometimes there might be a misunderstanding. And when you actually, take that first step to find that out, then there will be a lot more clarity. And it could be that, there was a misunderstanding, there was some confusion, and they're not even aware that they've done that towards you, and that's something that has offended you. Because I don't know about you, but I've seen situations where I'm upset about this certain person, and when you look and the person is laughing and enjoying their life, it's like, so you don't even care. Some people are so, like, they don't know, they're oblivious to it. And I'm sure maybe I've done something to someone else, and no, I'm laughing, living my life, doing my own thing, and I'm sure they're looking like, this girl. So first things first, actually analyze the offender. Does the person actually know what they have done? If not, raise it up with them in a kind, mature manner, and address the issue, and find ways to ensure that thing, it does not repeat itself again. So second thing is to analyze your past sins, your own past wrongdoings. And when you actually do that, you realize that you've actually done something similar or even worse than what has been done to you now, and that's what's causing your unforgiveness. He quotes in his book a story about how there was a certain woman who many people thought she was unholy, and they were about to stone her for adultery. And Jesus stopped them and said, if any of you are, have never sinned, are holy, then you can cast the first stone. But no one was able to, because they all realized that no, I myself have also sinned. So in the same way, in this step of trying to forgive and trying to heal, actually look and reflect yourself. Have I done something in the past before that has required someone else to forgive me? Have I done something similar? Have I done something worse? And not even to use it as a metric system, but just for you to acknowledge and remember that you yourself have required forgiveness before, or you yourself have offended someone before and they've had to forgive you. So doing that just humbles you and lets you know that in the same way as you require forgiveness, this is an opportunity that someone else also requires forgiveness. So the third thing is to analyze the outcome. And in the book, he quotes the story of Joseph and how he was sold to slavery by his brothers. But as the story goes, eventually he became the prime minister of Egypt, and his brothers were poor and in want, so they came to Egypt begging for food, begging for help, and it turned out that it was actually their brother that they were begging to, Joseph himself. And Joseph had said to them, what you meant it for evil, but God turned it out for good. So in the same way, what has happened now, what has caused this unforgiveness, what has caused this hurt? Sometimes if we actually analyze it, we can see, with the help of God, giving us that clarity and giving us that discernment, we can actually see that there's possibly a purpose to that. God is maybe teaching us something about ourselves, teaching us something about the other person, about the relationship that we have, teaching us something about where he wants us to go in life. So when we actually analyze that, we can see that, okay, this thing is actually useful for me to get to this point. And then that would help us to, forgive easier. If it's a case of, it's this unforgiveness is showing me, the true character of this person, and maybe I should distance myself, then it's a case of, okay, because this is God's will, I can see that God has intended this to happen, right? Let me forgive, let me be in God's will, let me forgive and move on and go where God wants me to go. Another situation, if the purpose is that he isolates you for a certain period of time because he's giving you a vision that you need to go somewhere, and the certain people that are around you won't be able to help you to get there. And again, it will make it a lot easier when you actually see the vision, you see that there's a purpose to it. You're like, okay, you know what? This is nothing about you. It's nothing about you. God is using this situation. So let me leave you to it. Forgive you, it's all in the past, you move on. Let me focus on that goal, let me focus on that promise that God has for me. So it's important to analyze the outcome. Pray to God, ask him, what can I learn from this? What is the purpose of this? Give me discernment, help me to understand, Lord. Next thing is to see the disadvantages of forgiveness. And he goes and say, God will not forgive you for any of your sins, and you are not going to have any prayers answered. Moreover, the devil will torment you. He goes on to read this story. He says, I heard of a pastor's wife who was suffering from multiple sclerosis. She had suffered emotional hurt from within and without the church. She could not forgive those who had criticized her husband. Sometimes it is the pastor's wives who endure a lot of ministerial hurts and pains. He goes on to say in the story, when her husband traveled, God ministered to her to forgive. When she forgave those people who hurt her, she received her healing miraculously. To her husband's utter surprise, here she was standing at the airport waiting for him when he returned from a trip. This was a wheelchair-bound woman, and there she was, free from unforgiveness and therefore free from multiple sclerosis. The tormentors can have access to torment us with sicknesses, diseases, poverty, and marital disharmony when we do not release those who hurt us. Could that explain your lack of breakthrough? So again, that is a disadvantage. It can prevent us from, healing. There's certain things, there's certain struggles that we have in life that actually it is attached to forgiveness. I don't know if anyone has watched this video. I don't know what the page is called. It was this man who was giving his testimony about how he used to be into witchcraft and warlock type stuff. And again, I'm summarizing here, but essentially he was talking about how, one of the things that he did when he was in that cult was to break down Christians. That was to prevent them from, praying, break unity, break fellowship, and all those things. And there was a particular group of women who had a challenge to pray for a certain amount of days, and this person that was giving his testimony, he also worked in it. Witches are also aware of the spiritual realm. So he was saying that his boss and advisors were saying this prayer that those women are doing, if they actually accomplish it, if they do, whether it's the 40 days or 50 days or however long it was, then it would create a strong presence of God and protect that area for many years. And obviously they don't want that. The devils don't want that. So the task of this guy that was giving the testimony was to find a way to infiltrate that prayer meeting and break it up. Long story short, he finds a way to get in there, and I think he was on the second to last day or the last day, he found a way to cause arguments between the people in the prayer meeting. And one of the triggers was that he had said something about this particular woman who had not forgiven her mother. And he said something like, "Oh, you're just like your mother," and she lost it. She was like, da, 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 da. And because of that, and it turned out that her mother had passed away years and years ago, but she had not fully forgiven her mother, and she was still holding on to that. And because of that, she didn't come back to the prayer, and they didn't finish that prayer the length that they had started with. So again, this point in this book, it can prevent your breakthrough, it can prevent healing, it prevent so many things simply because of unforgiveness. So let us be aware that there's actually different disadvantages to this. Let us humble ourselves and with God's help, and ask him to help us to forgive so we don't suffer those things. And maybe even now you can even look at yourself and say, oh, there's this thing that I've been having for a while now, and maybe it's along the same amount of time that you've had that issue with that person. Have the wisdom and have the spiritual discernment to and have the humility to go to God, to pray about it and ask him to heal you from the forgiveness, and you will see that other thing that you've been dealing with will also disappear. And last one is to see the advantages of forgiveness in the book. It says, see the advantages of forgiveness. It says one of the major advantages of forgiveness is that it makes you a great person. Not only will your prayers be answered, which is another advantage, but you become more powerful spiritually, physically, and emotionally. It makes you a great person. And I'm sure, you've heard the saying, take the high road. Don't go down to their level. And there's so many advantages to that. It's not only will you benefit from that as well, but it actually also can teach them something. It can actually minister to them and be like, oh wow, how this person is very different. I've done this to them, and they've been so hurt and affected by this thing, but they're not allowing it to affect them. and they're deciding to move on, it will minister to them, and they'll either not only change, but will actually be interested. If they're unbelievers, then you can start that conversation in a way, or you can inspire them to also be better, and ensure that thing doesn't happen again. So yes, those are the things that were in the book. I thought I'll just share that. So yeah, I hope you guys have found this video useful, helpful, informative, enlightening. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and yeah, leave a comment in the comment section. Leave a comment down below, as they say, if you like the video, to encourage each other, or share any stories that you've had, also to encourage other people who are watching on here. And yeah, I wish you all the best. May God bless you. I pray that you'll seek the Lord and you will find him, that you will know him and you will love him. God bless. Bye.